The Jim Harbaugh impact. We've seen it on the fans, the fan base, the media for Michigan. Now we'll get a chance to see over the next 2 weeks the impact immediately on recruiting. For National Signing Day is just a couple of weeks away. We bring in Anthony Broome of Maize and Blue on the SB Nation platform for Michigan Athletics. Anthony, thanks so much for joining us. Before we dig into this recruiting class, is there any kind of recent news or updates going on with the Wolverines 2015 class right now?
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy few weeks since the dead period ended. Harbaugh and his staff have kind of planted seeds all across the country. In the last week or so, they had Iman Marshall, the nation's top cornerback, in for an official visit. They have an in-home with him coming up on Monday. So it looks like they may have a good shot at getting into that sweepstakes with a good visit. Zach Gentry, a four-star quarterback from Texas, is another name that has been hot in the last few days. He had been pretty staunch, pretty firm in his Texas commitment throughout the cycle, but now that Harbaugh has kind of got in his ear, things are starting to pick up on that front too. A lot of people are predicting him to flip to Michigan, and he's taking his official visit this weekend. And it looks like their chances with him are pretty good. So, I mean, just a wide variety of things going on. A lot of offers going out in both the 2015 and 2016 classes. So it's really just an interesting time right now for them.
Anthony, we know a lot of college football fans watch the play on the field. They check in on National Signing Day, see where their team's ranked. Maybe they check in a few times leading up to National Signing Day. And for any Michigan fans that do that and just look at the team rankings, they're going to go through the roof and think, what's going on? Harbaugh just got hired. We're ranked 99th or 102nd, depending on your recruiting service, but doesn't mean a whole lot at this point, does it?
Right. No, I mean, there's a narrative going on right now that Harbaugh and his staff are struggling on the trail, which to me is kind of silly. I mean, the first chance they've had to visit these recruits in person and to meet their families and have them on campus was, about 8 days ago. So, and that was the risk they took by waiting for Harbaugh, by waiting till when the NFL season was over, and they knew what they were getting themselves into. And it's not a problem, because if there's ever a class where you can afford to scramble down the stretch, it's this one, because they only have about 14 to 16 spots up for grabs.
Yeah, the quality, I think, is going to be there. The quantity is going to keep them back in the team rankings, so that has to be dismissed. That's going to factor into the team rankings always, the quantity, and you're going to have a number of schools across the country that are going to be in the mid-20s to high 20s that are going to get the strength displayed there in the team rankings. 6 commits to date, 4 4-stars, so that sounds like quality to me. Can you run down some of the guys that you're excited about at this point?
Yeah, of the guys they have committed, like you said, 4 of them are 4-stars. They do, and they will end up with having a pretty solid foundation, even if it's not, very high up on the rankings list. They've got the 4-star quarterback already in Alex Malzone. A lot of people like his game. He looks like he has a chance to be pretty good at the next level. Brian Cole is kind of a player. He's kind of a tweener between offense and defense. A lot of people like what he brings to the table. He's one of the more underrated athletes, definitely in the country. So Grant Newsome on the offensive line looks to be a kid that has a chance to do some big things. And Tyree Cannell as a safety is a hard-hitting player. He's got a very good nose for the football, and I think he'll fit in with what they want to do on defense nicely.
The defense played really well last year, was put in a lot of bad situations by the offense going 3 and out, giving up bad field position, but the defense was really strong last year. Of course, the offense, we focus on the quarterback, a debacle that's been Devin Gardner for the past couple years after a strong showing at quarterback when he first got the job, but the offensive line wasn't good. Is that pretty much the narrative in regards to the needs on this football team?
In terms of what will make or break them, yes, especially for next year. If they're going to be successful, it's going to be up front on the offensive line. They've got the coaching staff in place to kind of get that out of them. And obviously Jim Harbaugh and Tim Drevno are both guys that are kind of famous for that smash mouth style of football. It's possible they could take another offensive tackle. They have a 2-star kid visiting this weekend in Nolan Ulizio, who's currently committed to UConn, but looks like their chances of flipping him are pretty good. And just you look at his highlight tape, and it's yeah, he's a two-star player, but in every play on his highlights, he's flattening the kid across from him. So that's definitely something this offense needs. It's something that's kind of a trademark of what they want to do on that side of the ball, and um, looks like they have a good foundation for that going forward.
So we talked about the 6 commits, the 4 stars. Who are those guys that are considering 3, 4, 5 schools, and Michigan seems to be firmly in the mix? They could lose them, they could gain them on National Signing Day that you would love to see come into the fold.
The guy right at the top of that list would be Chris Clark, who's the nation's top tight end. Jim Harbaugh likes to use the tight end in his offense. You've seen it at Stanford with Kobe Fleener and Zach Ertz. You saw it in the NFL with Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker as well. So their message to him has been that the tight end is very important. They want to utilize him, and it looks like Michigan's their best fit for him. UCLA is a factor here, though. He's got a pretty good relationship with Coach Mora and what they have going on out there. So the decision for him is going to pretty much boil down to playing for Harbaugh in an offense that suits him perfectly, or spending 4 years in LA at UCLA, which, I mean, for any 17-year-old kid, it's not an easy decision to make.
Anthony Broome joining us from Maize and Blue, the SB Nation platform for Michigan sports. Jim Harbaugh, huge name, huge presence. Have you seen a difference in the reaction of the important people in this process, the players, or just in regards to the way Harbaugh has conducted himself as a recruiter at Michigan versus Lloyd Carr, Rich Rodriguez, Brady Hoke?
Yeah, for the first time in a while, it really does seem like everyone in kind of that Michigan family, the extended family, the former coaches, former players, current players, what have you, the athletic department, everyone is kind of on this. Everyone is completely on the same page with this hire. Jim Harbaugh brings what they need to the program. He's won everywhere he's been. What he likes to do is exactly what Michigan has been famous for doing in the past. So, the reaction has been nothing but positive so far, pretty much unanimously. Unless you're talking to people from the rival schools, but even then, it's been more of a bring it on. Harbaugh is here, and it's going to be fun times in the Big Ten going forward.
Yeah, the allegiances are, of course, strong in the Big Ten. At the same time, I think there's a sense of wanting the Big Ten to compete with the SEC and get back to the status that it's had in the past. Of course, the conference took a number of strides in that department with Ohio State and Michigan State in particular this past postseason. Anthony, before we let you go, Jim Harbaugh can only do so much. Of course, he's looked at as the savior. Do you think the expectations are a bit ridiculous? And what, for the reasonable Michigan fan, are the expectations at this point?
Well, I think what you want to see is what fans just watched Ohio State do. Is you want them to be able to win the Big Ten, sneak into that college football playoff, and make some noise. And Jim Harbaugh can do that. He's like we've said before, he's won everywhere he's been. He's developed quarterbacks everywhere he's been, and at least for year one, it's okay to probably temper expectations a little bit. I kind of have them as an 8 or 9 win football team. Obviously, it's way too early for that. They just started conditioning for the winter. Spring football will be starting up in the next month or so. So tempered expectations to start, but Michigan fans should be pretty comfortable knowing that they got the best coach they possibly could, and the best coach probably in all of football.
And for those people that have only been watching college football for a few years, he did it at Stanford. And Stanford was not the Stanford we see now, even 5 or 6 years ago. It's amazing what he did there. At one point, a 40-point underdog, pulling off the biggest upset in the history of college football, and then winning games and getting to BCS Bowls was unthinkable at Stanford again just a few years ago. Anthony Broome, Maize and Blue, recruiting expert for the Michigan platform on SB Nation. Hey, Anthony, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate the breakdown.
No problem, Mark. Anytime. Glad to be on.